Pro scene. Got the transition OBS button ready to go on the stream deck. Okay. Fading to black. Oh, wait. Oh, yes, that's the right button. All right. Going live in 5, 4, 3.
Yummy like a gummy bear.
It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for January 8th, 2025. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, the Switch 2 gets revealed, but not by Nintendo, and one of the best games on Xbox 360 could be getting a big upgrade soon. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host of Game Mess Mornings. It's Sean, TurboShawn McDowell. Sean, how are you doing?
For once, good, Jeff. Rested, well refreshed after that nice long holiday break we had.
Yeah, I made the mistake of just going with God on the break and doing what my body wanted to do, which is always a poor choice every time. Never worked out good.
Oh, likewise. We'll get to that.
I am now recovered from last night, where I actually did decide to just go to sleep after the podcast for the most part. After last Nintendogs with Mikey,
and a little bit of Marvel Rivals.
A little bit of Marvel Rivals, yes, a good amount. Thankfully, like Chris Minotti came in. He was like, just a couple of games. We can always rely on him to be like, I'm tired, I want to go to bed. So yeah, we ended up pretty quickly, and actually his computer crashed and he didn't want to get back in. So that was it. And I went to bed, and I'm feeling pretty good now. My plan was to go out and walk in the woods, but it's too cold. It's just too cold.
It's too freaking cold. How cold is it for you today?
I think we are in real feel. It's in the single digits Fahrenheit. So yeah,
we are at 11.
Yeah.
Nice and crispy.
Is that 11 with the real feel, or like 11 like?
Yeah, it feels like 11.
Yeah. So that's right where we're
15 at. Feels like 11. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. So I was like, oh, this is painful. This is hurting me. I'm like, I just want to get some sun, some fresh air.
I remember when I was describing Wisconsin winter to Christian for the first time, and I gave him the temperature. He's like, "What's that in Celsius?" And I converted to him. He's like, that can't be right. You would die in that.
That's like what it's like on Mars. It's like, yes.
I'm like, nope, just 5 layers, baby. That's what you do.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Yeah, so how was your break?
It was very good. Actually played some video games for once.
Hey,
wild, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually had the time to catch up on some stuff. I played, actually got all the way through Shadow Generations. That was like one of the big ones that I've been wanting to start and didn't get around to, which is very good. I wouldn't say it's as amazing as some people are making out to be, even the Sonic fans. But it's kind of just more Sonic Generations.
I mean, it's solid at least, right? Like you don't have a ton of complaints for it.
It's just like Sonic Generations, there's too much fluff. Like if it was just like a 2-hour roller coaster, it would be like a very fun game. But there's a lot of like the hub world stuff they gotta do and everything. It bogs things down a little bit, but generally very fun. I was in a Sonic mood though, so I played some classic games, and I still maintain Sonic in 3D has often not been good. Adventure 1 and 2 are still very rough games. But as something we can agree on, Sonic in 2D, very good. So I fired up some Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and that was just a fun time, because that's just some good
time. Yes.
Good classic gaming right there. I thought about firing up Mania right after that. Obviously the best Sonic game.
By far.
But I actually was in the mood for something else that's been on my backlog because of Shadow Generations, and fired up Sonic Frontiers, which I've actually never played before.
Oh, really?
And,
okay.
Boy, it actually feels good to play.
Oh, wow.
Weird.
Really?
Yeah, Sonic Frontiers is like, because it's open world-ish, just having a fast character run around an open world is the best he's like ever felt, because he actually has the space to move around.
I agree. I think the complaints for that game are mostly like, I think they're fair, that when you are like looking at what's happening on the screen, it can feel like you're watching a YouTube video that says Sonic 3D in Unreal Engine, like a fan-made sort of thing. And I get that. I just don't care at all, because I think it feels fun to play.
It feels good. The bosses are a little jank, I noticed, which it's a Sonic Team game. Of course, there's jank in it.
But, rush shots, slap together, all that stuff's true.
it feels good to run around as Sonic, and then if you get good at the parkour, like stringing together, grinding on rails, and like bouncing all over the place and stuff. It's been very fun so far. So I've been enjoying
one of those
that.
games that my kids put on every once in a while to play, and they just like, fruiting around, having a good time. Yeah. So yeah, they're not really playing it to play it; they're just playing it to have Sonic do cool stuff.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I'm in the mood for, especially because indie's really not hitting with me, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm honestly, I'm surprised more people aren't in the boat that you're in, because I was expecting it to be way more divisive than it turned out to be. Right. Because I'm like, I think some people are going to be straight up bored by some of these things, and I think that's where you ended up.
That's where I'm at. I'm in Giza right now. I'm gonna try at least one more session, because I think, is it like after Giza is where you said it gets to the really good stuff?
If you could just rush through Giza and do the set piece after Giza, between the Giza and the final thing, I think that would like be a good place to, if you want to abandon at that point. Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know, because like I was not feeling the Vatican at all. I was very bored there. But then everything surrounding like the blimp was like awesome.
Yes, and then the next one is like even better than that. So yes.
Okay, so yeah, maybe I'll do that. Yeah. Oh, don't worry, Mikey O'Leary. I have been mainlining. don't you worry there. So maybe I'll get back to that.
The costume in Giza to like make things a little bit easier.
I'm fairly early on, so I think
it's the boxing quest. Just do the boxing thing. If you do the boxing
thing, okay, no, I haven't done
you
that.
don't even have to do the whole thing. Just it'll tell you where to get the outfit.
Do you have to do the combat in the game for that?
No. Well, I mean, you'll have to.
Okay, good.
You have to kill one Nazi, pretty much, to get it.
Okay,
so
I'll do that. I'll do that. Okay, yeah, because I don't like the combat in this game.
Yeah, I think. I mean, when you say the combat, are you shooting? Or you're like
no, the punching. It's just mash RT, and I'm just.
I think you gotta the combat for that game to be fun needs to be, I am picking up something big and stupid and hitting a Nazi over the head with it without him looking. That's
the stealth is a lot more fun.
Yes, that's
like
where
strategically taking, because it's it is more of an sim that it is an Uncharted. And I think that's where it excels, when you are like you get into a game. You get into a room and you're like, how can I take these guys down without alerting anyone? Mm-hmm. And when you just slowly take them all out, that's very fun. But I also haven't been given too many opportunities to actually do that.
Yeah.
But like in the catacombs, for example, I had a lot of fun just like slowly sneaking up on everyone, just take them out with a pipe or something. That was a lot of fun.
Yep. So, yeah. I ended up really liking the game, but it was a rough start for me. And not, like I said, just surprised more people aren't coming out of it being like, I think this is boring. You're not doing much.
Yeah.
Or when you are doing much, it's just going back and forth.
Yeah, I don't want people to be down in the game, but it does feel like a game that's so different than what people would expect. That you're right. I'm a little surprised, but hey, good for a studio that people are in love with it, because it is a very good like interactive indie experience, I think, is what Backlar said in Slack. And I'm like, yeah, that's right, because this game looks amazing. It looks absolutely fantastic, and maybe I would enjoy it a little bit more if it was just like more of a movie, but we'll see. We'll see where the next level goes.
I think it just speaks to the studio being able to like get people into what they want people to be getting into in their game. And I think that is a difficult thing to pull off. And I think that's why there's fewer complaints than I was expecting.
Because it's Machine Games, I would have expected it to be even more in the Uncharted realm, because they've done shooters for so long. But if this is a game they wanted to make, hey, props to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's certainly more accurate to Indiana Jones than Uncharted actually is, right?
Absolutely. All right, let's explain what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings, or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with a Nintendo Switch 2 replica is being showcased behind closed doors at CES. This is from Andy Robinson at VGC. An accessories maker is showcasing what claims to be an accurate replica of Nintendo's unannounced Switch 2 console at CES in Las Vegas. Genki is showcasing the device behind closed doors at the Las Vegas Convention Center this week, where invited guests can hold the replica in their hands and get a feel for what it claims is the Switch 2. The replica model, pictured on this page, and I'll look into a video of it here in a second, is being used to demonstrate the accessories Genki has planned for the Switch successor, including controllers and a docking station, it said. German publication Netzwelt was able to try the Switch 2 replica, which Genki claims has the exact dimensions of Nintendo's unannounced console. According to the publication, Switch 2 feels significantly larger to hold, with Joy-Cons that are removed from the side rather than being slid in upwards. There's might be video of that as well, and when we go to take a look at it. Nintendo has yet to officially reveal its Switch successor, but the company has confirmed plans to do so during this current fiscal year, which ends March, a couple months from now. So we will get a reveal before that point. Feels like soon, but who knows with Nintendo. Other little sprinkles of stuff here. Genki told people, said, publicly revealed that the thing will be released in April. Switch 2 will be just released in April. They have a page on their website that got like, who knows if like where they tell them, hey, check this out, we got Switch 2 stuff, or people just happen to find it, whatever. They have Switch 2 accessories ready to go on their page. This is flouting Nintendo, like right in their face, but I don't think. I mean, they don't seem to care. Maybe they'll care if Nintendo like returns the Eye of Sauron on them. Either way, though, Sean, hey, more Switch 2 leaks.
Okay, so Genki is not actually partnered with Nintendo, I believe.
Right. I think so. Yes, they are not like an officially licensed partner for Nintendo, but they don't
have the seal on their accessories. So first of all, it makes you wonder, like, well, then how would they have stuff ready to go already? I suppose.
I mean, the way that's got to work, right, is just a manufacturer in China just has to have one of those things, and then those things just get spread around because I think a poet once said, "China don't care." So I mean, it's got to be correct. It's got to be that simple.
I hear they don't mind.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know.
It's weird. Okay, but yeah, and then for them to just be so openly talking about it, and then obviously D-brand is D-brand. They are, to be frank, assholes in their marketing. And then, so of course they would into their brand. Yeah, they would be antagonistic. But Genki just going out here and saying like, yeah, here's what it looks like. We made like a 3D model, like 3D printed model of it. Here's when it releases. Just. I don't know if that's a good idea for your company, Jeff, to be honest.
Yeah, you don't want to be in the crosshairs of Nintendo.
Of all companies, Nintendo?
Yeah, it'll be rough. But okay.
I'm gonna derez you real quick.
Yes. Yeah. Get desynced. These leaks keep happening. We keep saying Nintendo will reveal it soon. It does feel like we know just about everything. Switch 2, the Joy-Cons, we heard about those quite a while ago. It does look like they're gonna... they just kind of slide into the side. That's interesting. There's an optical sensor looking thing on the side. I know you have some thoughts on this. Shoot.
I missed Nintendogs last night. I didn't hear you and Mike talking about this. Has anyone considered that it's not an optical sensor the way you think it is? I
mean, yeah, I was considering that when I first saw it, but then I was pretty convinced by the runner pads on the top and the bottom that like you would be on a mouse to make it go across the smooth surface.
You mean the magnets?
Yeah, are those just magnets? Yeah, you think those are? Yeah, you think those are like?
Those are where the magnets are. Because where else would the magnets be?
Yeah, I mean, it has a look to it that has a looks like that smooth plastic that is on a mouse. So what do you think it could be then?
It could just be for development, Jeff. We don't know anything about this thing. And this is the thing where there's something about these Switch 2 leaks where I keep seeing people jump from conclusion to conclusion to conclusion.
Of course, yes.
Without fact. It's one thing when we get the motherboard leak and people can point to components on the board and say, oh, this is, blank component. This is a RAM module. This is whatever. This is the Nvidia chip. It's another when someone looks at an alleged Switch 2 Joy-Con, looks at like a clear piece of plastic on the side of it and says, well, it looks like an optical sensor. Another person says, oh, optical sensor. Oh, that's what's on a mouse. And everyone's like, it's a mouse. We figured it out. And it's like, haven't you? We've been here before where something has had like an extra HDMI port. And everyone's like, oh, is the HDMI in? What's this going to do? What's this going to happen? Turns out, no, the dev kits, they had a surplus of HDMI ports, so they used it for data. Like,
Right.
I don't know. So some of this is a little like people jumping to conclusions too fast. Maybe it is a mouse. I don't know. It seems a little un-Nintendo. Like, sure, Super Nintendo mouse and all that, but some of these leaks are going a bit far. And I see Jordan Midler keep posting like, can they just reveal it already? Because it's almost like boring how much we know.
It is
this point.
boring at this point. Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
I think honestly that the leaks might be doing Nintendo a little bit of a favor to get all the boring stuff out of the way so that they can, like, the video can just be about the games or whatever.
Yeah.
Because this hardware was never going to be that exciting. Even if this thing is a mouse, that's only so exciting. Who cares? Like, I have a mouse right in front of me right now on my computer, and I don't ever think about it in any exciting terms.
Let's be real. Even if that was the case, it could be. Even if it was the case, it's going to be like the IR sensor. 2 games are going to use it, and then 100%.
That is what we said on last Nintendogs. If it is this, Nintendo will use it in a couple games. Third party won't use it at all, and we'll forget about it in a year from now.
Right.
So yeah.
The physical hardware is the least interesting part of the Switch 2.
Always was going to be, yes, based on like what they're going for with this thing. J-Mania in chat does leak to something from Gaming Leaks and Rumors that says the shipping manifest or manufacturing manifest, I guess, does refer to those things on the Joy-Cons as mouse soles. Yeah, mouse soles. So, whatever. Still, we'll see.
A shipping manifest is...
not manufacturing manifest. But you're right. Yeah, exactly.
Either way.
This is Family Boards, like doing the thing that you're talking about, kind of really honing in on this stuff, and one leak sort of leads to speculation that leads to another leak that leads to more speculation.
That's what I'm trying to get at, is that it's all speculation that people are sometimes taking as fact, and maybe some outlets are running with as actual news. And it's like, no, everyone back up just a second. We think we may have figured it out. Let's all calm down a little bit here. It's fun to speculate, but I think some people are just like, taking as fact a little bit too quickly.
It does feel a little bit like the kind of gimmick that ends up in a Switch 2, right? Where that Nintendo may be a slightly more conservative than they've been in the past, but still recognizing they need to be Nintendo about things. Like, this thing was always going to include a IR camera like gimmick in it, and something. Yeah, and this feels like that fills that slot pretty well. But again,
even if it was an optical sensor, my first assumption wasn't mouse. My first assumption was, they're using powerful electromagnets to hold these things in place. They need to make sure a finger isn't in the way or something. Could just be a camera.
Yeah, I mean, could be. I mean, could be just sending data or something like that. Who knows? Could be a bunch of stuff.
Who knows? Or it could just be like we talked about the IR sensor. It could just be a different version of the IR sensor.
Yep.
Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. But now even the Nintendo Switch 2 logo has reportedly leaked. This is from Tom Ivan at VGC. Nintendo Switch 2 logo may have leaked. Universo Nintendo editor-in-chief Necro Philippe Lima claims to have seen the logo after being sent a photo of the unannounced console from a reliable source. Based on what he saw, he claims to have precisely recreated the logo and published it online. And it's just Switch logo with a 2 to the right. So,
yes.
It definitely required a lot of effort there.
Just a lovely sans serif 2 next to the Switch logo. Like, great.
It really does. It's some of this stuff's bordering on the absurd of like, I guess this is probably the Switch 2 logo.
There's Reddit posts flooding that subreddit of like, oh my god, the logo, dude.
Yes. I mean, what else were they going to do though? I guess I don't know. Yeah. I am getting to a little bit of a point of where I'm like, this is starting to get pretty disappointing. I'm not going to care about the Switch 2 logo once this thing is in my hands for sure, and probably not even once we start getting the videos. But in this moment where we're like, we are just looking for the scraps, and I'm like, that's it? That's the Switch 2 logo? I don't know why I care, but for some reason I'm like, okay, I guess that's a little disappointing. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's a 2, Jeff. I don't know.
Yep.
We really are grasping at straws here at this point where, I mean, like we said in the last news story, we're going to care about the next Mario game. And, is there a new Mario Kart? And like, what sort of upscaling are they doing on that chip there? And not a 2 next to the Switch logo.
I gotta say, looking at this, I got the video now up of the Switch 2.
There we go. Yeah, that's it.
From CES, from Ginky. And the way the Joy-Con does sort of just insert into the side looks pretty satisfying, looks pretty sturdy and secure, which is an improvement that I definitely care about. I feel like the Switch One, the way the Joy-Con attached to the system is a little bit not like unreliable, but just shaky enough that I feel it makes the whole system a little uncomfortable. This looks more solid.
Yeah, and it makes it seem a little more modern as well.
Yes.
Having those mechanical rails, just literal metal and plastic, not even metal and metal, but having that metal and plastic working together always felt a little, I don't know, it's satisfying to get the click. Yes. But nowadays in 2025, it does feel a bit outdated. Maybe it's just because we've had the Switch for so long. But having something where it just sort of magically connects on, first of all, very Apple, very MagSafe. But also, it just looks elegant, looking in this video. Yeah, if it just kind of just slides on in there, that's cool. And if it is these really strong magnets that are going to hold it on in place and have it be reliable while also being easier to get on and off, that's awesome.
Yep. And then here is a size comparison. That looks much bigger than the Switch. Jeez, God, the screen itself looks about as big as the dock. I guess there's a little bit of a case around the edge here.
This is an original Switch, I believe, is being compared to. So not doing a ton of favors, not comparing to the OLED. Yeah, it's not like, for audio listeners, it's not like a gigantic step up, but it's like maybe what you would have envisioned like a Switch XL looking like. It's a little bit bigger.
I think it like if you take the average between the Switch and the Steam Deck, I think you go in the middle of that to go to that average and then lean a little bit towards the Switch. And I think that's about the size you should be imagining. So
yeah, it's very much Switch shaped. It seems like roughly as slim as the Switch and everything. So it's going to be a more just pleasant to hold device than like, as much as I love the Steam Deck, that thing's thick.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And
that's like a Game Gear right there.
And I think for like, I'm someone that maybe carried my Switch with me and maybe even put it in my pocket more than the average person, but I think most people do not do that at all. So I think recognizing that and making a device that is more comfortable to hold, like in my Jinkos, Sean, what do you mean? Why you give me that face?
It's just wondering, what pants you still got laying around.
Nothing really these days, actually. All my but I definitely had some bigger pants that would have fit in. It pokes out the top a little bit, but
a little bit,
a little bit, yeah. This new one,
in the summer, the cargo shorts, like I'll give you that.
I think when the Switch originally launched, I did a video of like trying to put it in my pocket, and that did pretty well. That might still be on my YouTube page somewhere, but
probably.
Hey, I'm welcoming a slightly large device, especially since that screen looks pretty big, and you're right, it does look more comfortable to hold for long periods of time. Not that I ever had huge issues with the Switch, but until I played 80 hours of Dead Cells in a week, that destroyed my hands. Yeah, this looks pretty good.
Hey, before we get off of CES, what do you think about those new Nvidia graphics cards?
Yeah, I mean, they seem pretty good. I think that they took a little extra time from the 40 series, right? And I think it feels like they really put quite a bit into there. And I don't think the prices are too bad. I think they are still. I think graphics cards are just expensive across the board.
They're just too expensive in general. Yeah,
that's been a trend for a long time. But I don't know. I think they're pretty impressive. And I have the 4090, so I'm not like rushing out to get something new. But I'm definitely keeping my eye on them. How about you?
Yeah, I think because I need to build a new computer because, like I've mentioned, mine is like falling apart. So I'm eyeing that 5070. I don't like that I'm eyeing that 5070 because 550 ain't cheap.
Nope.
But for a level of performance that they're given there, like they're saying if you use all of the RTX suite on these new cards, including like frame gen and everything like that, man, getting 4090 class performance in terms of frame rate and visuals out of a 550 card, that's feeling pretty good right about now, especially because it'll be better for me for like rendering videos and stuff too, that having that newer card with a newer encoder and everything on it. I'm looking forward to that. I was thinking about how expensive that is and how much money I'm going to spend on this build total. But the way I thought about it, I'm like, man, even if you spend like $1,200 on a gaming PC nowadays, that's really like a solid computer. That's still in the ballpark of like a console and a computer separately, which is how how I justify it to myself. It's 2 devices in one. I am going to use it as both devices. So I think I will get that 5070 because all the cards above that, I ain't spending that kind of money. I ain't spending $1,000 plus on a graphics card, but yeah, I think that's the one I'm gonna grab.
I think that's the right sort of butter zone for this new crop of GPUs, and yeah, I think if are you gaming on a high refresh rate monitor on PC?
I mean, 120, nothing special.
Yeah, I mean, I think then 5070 is probably exactly right. I think if people are trying to do 4K and anything above 120, that 5080 is going to be pretty good for that, especially with the DLSS 4. That's
because of the frame gen, you can get into the 200s, which is wild.
And yeah, at 4K, like that's, I mean, not every game, obviously, but like many games, you're going to be able to get like more than 120 frames per second at 4K. And that is pretty interesting now at this point. It's just something I never was really considering before. I'm like, I don't need a high refresh rate 4K monitor. Some people bought those anyhow, and if you have one of those, this will take huge advantage of that.
Do you see what Blurbuster's cooked up there with their new CRT shader?
No, I haven't looked recently. Is it, man?
BFI, black frame insertion, that simulates a CRT like beam. So like the way it like goes from top to bottom. And so like you can even demo it on what you have right now if you have 120 or above monitor. And it looks real smooth, Jeff. It looks real nice. So yeah, some of the newer TVs that can do that, it's going to look really good.
Yep, that's kind of stuff I definitely would be using it for. So yeah, okay, maybe I'll do that. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, a Pokemon Presents, is that happening? We'll talk about it right after this. All right, we are back, and let's get right back into it with a Datamine that suggests a Pokemon Presents 2025 is coming soonish. This is from Nintendo Everything. Fans are always anticipating a Pokemon Presents presentation to go along with Pokemon Day, and it looks like another event is planned for 2025. Twitter user Maddie Okana conducted a Pokemon Go Datamine and noticed a particular piece of code that has now appeared. It's pretty clear that based on what's stated, we're on tap for a new Pokemon Presents 2025 broadcast on Pokemon Day. Obviously, that isn't surprising given what's happened in years past, but we'll take it regardless. Then they have an image here of the actual Datamine. But yeah, Sean, you're my Pokemon guy. What's happening?
Yeah. No shit, Jeff.
Yep.
They do one every year.
Yep. And then they definitely have some Pokemon stuff happening like always. They have some stuff they got to talk about. So,
So I think you don't know what the news story here is. No. And I think maybe the people reporting on this don't know what the news story here actually is. They data mine from Pokemon Go some Unova region stuff. That's the black and white region, Jeff.
Okay.
And, we've had black and white on the brain because, like, hey, where's that black and white remake? It feels like we should be maybe thinking about that at this point, right?
It's not necessarily due, but it does feel like that's up next. That's where we're at with that.
That would be up next. Yeah, Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl. So, Gen 4, that was the last one. And so we're thinking about Gen 5, black and white. And here we have data mine stuff from the Pokemon Presents Pokemon Go event that is all about Gen 5. Well, Jeff, interesting thing. The trading card game is getting an entire Gen 5 expansion in, I believe it's June. That is just all of the Pokemon from Black and White. That's all it is. And so it's weird that we're getting an expansion dedicated to Black and White. A Pokemon Go event tied into Black and White specifically. All this stuff is like, is something finally happening with this? Was something supposed to happen and it got delayed? I don't know. We were thinking about this even this point last year. So we're trying to figure out what's going on. It feels like they've been setting up for something. They've been teasing Black and White on their social media for like months now. I don't know. Maybe it's finally time this year. Maybe not. Maybe it's all a coincidence. Feels like a weird coincidence considering, especially with the TCG, we haven't had a dedicated set like this outside of Gen 1 stuff because, everyone wants those Charizard cards and stuff, right? We haven't had that kind of thing recently, unless it's been tied into a game. So that's why people are thinking maybe it's finally time.
My thing here is I am currently, while you were talking there, looking up images of Black and White, and I think this game looks fantastic.
It looks so good.
It looks so good. How are they going to
HD2D before HD2D?
Yes, and how are they going to mess that up? Because I just feel like there's
not
no way
doing
to get this right. Yes.
Yeah, no. It's gonna look like a low budget mobile game is probably where we're at right now. If Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl was any indication.
Yeah, I mean,
which is why like all of us Pokemon nerds have been really hesitant about this one, because boy, look at that artwork. Look at that sprite work combined with the 3D models.
Yeah.
It looks fantastic. And if they don't put some TLC into this game, boy, it's going to look like ass, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's going to, like, that's precarious. But I mean, that's the Pokemon Company, and Nintendo, they sort of handcuff themselves into doing these things in a certain way. Maybe they're going to break that with this one. Who knows? I think HD2D would be awesome for this, but it's not like you just go pull that stuff off the shelf.
Yeah, I didn't follow a ton of the what they call it, the Terra leak out of Game Freak. I didn't follow everything that came out of that, but between that and some rumblings on the street, it sounds like Game Freak wasn't thrilled with the way Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl turned out. But those games turned out the way they did because they like pivoted from a really big remake to something else at the last minute, it sounds like. So maybe they actually put a little more effort into it and get us something more like the Gen 3 remakes, which were pretty good on 3DS there. So if we can get back to that, I think people will be happy generally.
So Pokemon Day is February 27th. Yep. So that is enough time. Of course, there's always been enough time, but that's enough time for Nintendo to get maybe some Switch 2 stuff out of the way, so that maybe the Pokemon Company can talk a little bit more openly about what might be happening with ZA?
No.
Okay.
Because
yes, please.
No game announced that this Pokemon Presents is going to be on the Switch 2 unless it's an upgraded port. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about you're probably, because ZA will be, because that's just how the Pokemon games have worked in the past, right? Yep. They just focus on the thing that has 100 million things out there, even if there is a new system, and they do that a little bit. They take a little bit longer to like catch up on that than some other companies, right?
Yeah, usually not too long. Usually it's like
a little bit.
Yeah, it's just like on average, I think at this point, like 2 years. So not too far after, maybe a year. So ZA is different enough and is more for the core audience. I can see them doing some kind of cross-gen thing. We don't know exactly what cross-gen looks like on the Switch 2. That could be the case. Maybe like an enhanced
cross-gen
upgrade
stuff might not be clarified. Like we're talking about, Switch 2 could get announced. That announcement almost certainly does not have details like what does cross-gen look like at that point. We probably get that a little bit later than even February 27th.
I think it depends on like what cross-gen looks like. Sure. Because if it's as simple as like, yes, your Switch games will run on Switch 2, and then that's it, they can just get that out of the way early.
You're right. Totally, you're right. But I expect it to be a little bit more complicated than that. So.
I expect it to be something a little bit more. Yeah. So I guess we'll see. But yeah, like Gen 10 for the 30th anniversary, making sure I get my numbers right. That'll be next year. Maybe that's on Switch 2. But yeah, we're not going to start off with a like mainline or even remake Pokemon game. Spinoffs come to the new console right away. So if there's a spinoff ready to go, that may even be like a Switch 2 launch game. But nothing like major.
Okay. All right, let's keep going here. Although, real quick, want to note Dan Reichert in chat says he is suited up. As a reminder, Flight Club happens right after Game Mess mornings today. So we're gonna try to wrap up. Yeah, go ahead.
I know parts of the suit. I actually don't know the full outfit, so I'm excited to see this.
I think I added a couple things since you last saw as well. So,
yeah, I think so. So this is gonna be fun.
You're not gonna want to miss it. So as soon as we're done here, stay tuned. I'm gonna go down. Dan will come right back up. We'll do the intro. It's Terminator 3, the Terminator Reich of the Machines. So you're not going to miss it, everybody. All right, let's keep going. Xbox says its handheld will combine the best of Xbox and Windows. This is from Jordan Midler at VGC. Microsoft is once again talking about its as yet unannounced handheld, this time claiming it will combine the best of Xbox and Windows. As attended by The Verge, Microsoft's VP of Next Generation, Jason Ronald, took part in a roundtable at CES titled The Future of Gaming Handhelds, where he shared further details about Microsoft's planned portable. We've been really innovating for a long time in the console space, and as we partner across the industry, it's really about how we bring those innovations that we've incubated and developed in the console space and bring them to PC and bring them to the handheld gaming space. he said. Microsoft's gaming CEO has reportedly hinted that it could create its own Steam Deck style Xbox. Blah, blah, blah. Expectations is that we would do something in this category, blah, blah, blah. The Verge spoke to Ronald. I would say it's bringing the best of Xbox and Windows together because we have spent the last 20 years building a world-class operating system, but it's really locked to the console, said Ronald. What we're doing is we're really focused on how do we bring those experiences for both players and developers to the broader Windows ecosystem. He added, I think at the end of the day, our goal is to make Windows great for gaming on any device. The reality is the Xbox operating system is built on top of Windows. So there's a lot of infrastructure that we built into the console space that we can bring to the PC space and really deliver that premium gaming experience on any device. Sean, this is mostly what I want to be hearing from them. I don't know how much I believe that this is going to be the thing that I want it to be, but my thing is always, you pick up a Switch, you know what it's going to do when you pick it up. You know how it's going to behave, and you are expecting to play games, and it gives you games. When you pick up a Windows-based device, it is powerful and has all the broad support, and all that stuff is awesome, but you pick it up, and it's a little laptop without a keyboard and a mouse, and that's a little frustrating for me. Obviously, they can address some of those things, but boy, can they bridge the gap to make it feel more like a console, something that I think is necessary? I hope so. It sounds like that's what they're going for. What do you think?
What he's saying here, which first of all, changing the man's title to VP of Next Generation, it feels like such a current Xbox thing to do. Second, he's kind of trying to like speak in both directions here. What do you think this thing is? Do you think it is finally the handheld optimized version of Windows that people have been wanting for a while now? Or is it just running the Xbox operating system? Because for people who don't know, when they say Xbox is built on Windows, it's because the Windows like kernel is what powers an Xbox console. Like since the beginning has been extremely modified versions of Windows that form the operating system of Xbox consoles. I don't think that's what they would do at this point, but the way he's talking around it makes it sound like it could go in either direction.
Yeah, I mean, what is?
Because like, I think the people from the console space who want an Xbox handheld want like a Switch style dedicated device, but it sounds to me like this is more of just a Windows handheld optimized heavily to like look and function like an Xbox.
Yeah, I mean, I think long term, the best bet for them is to make a version of probably of the Xbox OS directly for one of these devices, but I don't think that's what they'll end up doing. And I think they can do enough of the work to make you forget about Windows while being in the Xbox operating system, which is what I think I will be happy with if they can accomplish that. But I think that's a little bit more difficult. And I think long term, it's like, Steam using the Linux kernel and then SteamOS being on top of that has already solved a lot of these problems and is only going to keep getting better with new features. Windows could always just look archaic and weird compared to that. But again, it has the broad support, and I think that's what they want to maintain. And I think, you build in the Xbox OS into their running the Windows kernel. A lot of that support would just kind of work, and especially if they are going to build a version of the Windows or the Xbox operating system for the new system that allows you to install Steam and Uplay and all this other stuff, as rumors have suggested. Maybe that is the direction they're headed. So I don't know. I think I'd be okay with either one. I think long term, though, they are better off if they make something directly for this device that is a gaming operating system first and maybe exclusively.
Yeah, because the big difference for anyone who doesn't know the tech stuff here, even after that, the difference here is this going to run the PC versions of games or the Xbox versions of games, which is a huge difference in terms of compatibility. Because if you're running the PC versions of games, you're really only able to play games from and to have proper what do they call them now? Glyphs, like the controller icons and everything, and have controller support just works. You're really looking at like 2015 onward, and you're also probably out of the box limited to what's available on the Xbox app. Because if it is a Windows device, you can install it at stores and whatever. But if it is the Xbox operating system, well, then that presumably would use some compatibility layer to get all current games on there, all Xbox One games on there, all backwards compatibility games on there. And so I think that would be a more successful device, but I think that's not the direction they're heading in.
Yeah, I think I agree with that, where I think that would be preferable, the right move. And I doubt that that's what's happening.
But harder to do.
Harder to do,
which
yes.
is why they probably wouldn't.
Right, exactly. They're always sort of 1 foot in, 1 foot out with everything. I know they seem like they're full bore on this, but I don't know if I just don't know if I believe it.
It feels like it's going to be a Windows handheld where they heavily market the fact that it can run Game Pass games. Because, what would be the difference between that and a Steam Deck at this point? Basically just the ability to run Game Pass games.
Yep. All right. Let's keep moving here. Oblivion-linked Virtuos is making an unannounced Unreal Engine 5 remake. This is from Tom Ivan at VGC. Virtuos is working on an unannounced remake in Unreal Engine 5. That's according to the LinkedIn profile of Oleksiy Moskovchenko, a technical art director at Virtuos in Shanghai, China. While the identity of the project remains a mystery, it's reignited speculation that a remake of 2006, The Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion, could be in development at Virtuos. And I think that's almost certainly what this is.
Think so?
Yes, and people will immediately be like, well, that is weird because you're going to remake that whole thing on Unreal. Just as a reminder, the rumor, which I haven't confirmed this, but the rumor at the time from a couple years ago or maybe last year was that Virtuos was going to do this and they were going to remake the visuals in Unreal and kind of link that on top of the scaffolding underneath would still be Creation Engine. And I don't know how that's going to work, but that has been the rumor there. And I welcome that. Boy, I think that sounds like a good idea because I like Oblivion, even though it was always kind of an ugly game. This could fix that. So I'm excited about this. It also, to me, it feels like them like experimenting and working with Virtuos to come up with a game plan to maybe make the future of Elder Scrolls and what it is it still game or Creation Engine? Is that still what they call it now? Whatever they call Creation Engine 2.0 for future games
to 2.0,
to have Unreal Engine visuals on top of all of the bullshit that they still like to have, where you can like pick up every item in the world and things like that, and they don't want to get rid of that. So maybe this is a precursor to what happens with Elder Scrolls 6 and Fallout 5 and beyond. But either way, I'm excited about this. How about you?
This is an interesting one because if I had heard this rumor with nothing linked to Oblivion before it, I would have assumed it was the next Metal Gear remake because they're working on Delta.
Yep, that's fair. Yeah.
So what we're going off of here though is that apparently last year someone, or 2 years ago now, 2023, someone claiming to be a former employee there claimed that they were working on a remake of Oblivion. So that's what's leaning us in that direction, I suppose. Which, okay, sure, that gives us something to work off of. It feels I don't know. I'm not a huge Bethesda RPG person, so I don't know as much about the history here. It feels like something that would be odd for them to outsource, personally. I feel like that's more something that Bethesda likes to do internally. But
yeah, I mean, God, we're at a point where they don't have a choice anymore, right? Because if you want to do this sort of thing, Bethesda GameWorks is not a massive studio. We're talking... I guess, I'm going to say a number like 300. That's going to sound massive, but, they make big games that take a long time to make, and all those people work on that stuff the entire time. They kind of don't have the capacity to go and do one of these themselves at this point in time.
But internal doesn't mean Bethesda anymore. It means Xbox.
Yeah.
So
you're right.
think it still feels odd to go entirely outside the family.
Yeah, it's not like Xbox has a ton of studios to spare either, though. I mean, they have a ton of studios, but they're all busy all the time. We talk about like who could make Banjo, and they're like, we don't effing know. We have no idea who can make that game.
And right Virtuos remaking is something I think they're a little new to, but they've done a lot of like HD stuff in the past, so they are very good at making these remasters and now remakes. So maybe it's just one of those situations where they were just like, hey, let's go to a really good porting studio, remake studio, and see what they can do.
Yep.
We'll see.
All right, let's keep it going here as we get ready to wrap up so we can get right into Blight Club here in a few minutes. Xbox games and Game Pass can lose 80% of premium sales, it's claimed, from Jordan Midler at VGC. Xbox games included in the Game Pass subscription service can reportedly expect to lose up to 80% of their predicted premium sales. That's according to business journalist Christopher Dring, who added that for multi-platform titles, inclusion in Game Pass can drive PS5 sales. Speaking as part of a Q&A on the install base forums, Dring was asked his thoughts about Game Pass and its impact on the market. Anecdotally, games that are in Game Pass can expect to lose around 80% of their expected sales on Xbox, Dring wrote. That's the figure that gets thrown around. It's less if it's a big mainstream release, but generally, look at how Hellblade 2 charted, or where Indiana Jones came, or even Starfield. Game Pass clearly hurts sales on Xbox. And I think it's like, yeah, duh.
Yeah.
Of course it would.
Of course.
Yes. But it's like, getting a number put on it is helpful. I think it kind of maybe illustrates some of the choices Xbox has made recently, where they're like, hey, we did the Game Pass thing, and that was disruptive to a point, and that disruption now feels like it has settled and is just a natural part of the gaming landscape. We still want to make more money. We have money. We would like to have more of it. And so now we are going to be putting these games on PlayStation because that is a good way to make more money. I think that's just like, you draw one dot, you draw the other dot, and now there's a clear line in between. I do wonder, Sean, like, there's always been talk of Microsoft getting scared off of Game Pass to the point where maybe they begin to deprecate it and step away from it. I do think they've stepped back a half step. Do you think there's do you think the full step is still on the table, where like maybe, day one games aren't included. Some certain day one games aren't included. I know there's a version of Game Pass that does have that, but maybe going even further than that.
Well, right, because you need to be on Ultimate to get all of the day one games on console is the way it works. Now, it's still a little confusing how they broke that up. I don't like that anymore. Mm-hmm. I think, okay, so the situation here is, of course you lose a crap ton of sales by having a subscription that includes everything. Because why would anyone buy something by default if it's part of a subscription that is very reasonably priced? And, if you're, especially in the console ecosystem, you're kind of expected to have at this point. So like, of course, you're going to lose a crap ton of sales. I think Game Pass just hasn't landed the way Xbox wanted it to, where they were like, the growth isn't there anymore, at least, where... Right. It's sold in a good place. They have a lot of subscribers still bringing in a very good amount of money. How much is it offsetting how much you're losing on now $70 sales of games? And I do think that's part of the reason why they are expanding to PS5, because, have your cake and eat it too. Have it be day one Game Pass in the Xbox ecosystem, any Xbox platform. That's cool. And then you go over to PlayStation like 6 months later, get a bunch of $70 purchases. I think maybe that's a plan that works out for them in the long run. Because again, reminder, console fanboyism, tribalism, it's all BS. Nobody actually cares about it when it comes to business. They're looking at all of the money. And maybe this is the middle ground they can reach, where they encourage an audience to stay in their ecosystem using Game Pass. That's just an incentive for them. And then they find other ways to get those major purchases. Maybe that's the plan that works out for them. But I don't see them like eliminating Game Pass in the near future, at least as long as they want to continue to push their hardware in some way and continue to push apps the way they have been with the PC app, and they're expanding to the mobile app and everything like that. Because even if it feels weird now, even if it's not intuitive now, eventually just having that Xbox app on someone's TV, especially if that TV happens to include a controller in the future out of the box, maybe they have a marketing deal there, and someone can just, fire up their new TV and they say, oh, hey, and this controller lets me play games on it too. That's convenient. I think that's where they are looking at in the future, Yeah,
I think that was definitely the goal early on, was like, okay, we will supplement this with the core audience right now and let that sort of disrupt that space. But really the end goal here is to shoot past that and get to the more casual audience that is afraid of buying a $500 console and doesn't like spending $60 on individual games. And we'll get them, and that will make this whole thing make sense. And that just, they've not been able to get to that point, which is why it has settled in at like 15% of their business, is what Phil Spencer said a couple years ago. And he expects it to be 15% of the business going forward. And they're not going to give that up. So Game Pass is not going to go away. Jamie H. 1224 in chat says, to hurt sales, yes, but a recurring subscription looks better to investors, doesn't it? It did while it was still growing. Now that it's not growing anymore, is it a liability? I don't think investors look at it that way, but maybe.
Now it's become stable income, and now they have to think about, is the stable income offsetting potential growth? That's where they're at right now.
Yeah, and I think, the toothpaste probably is out of the tube. They probably can't undo Game Pass And I don't think they want to. I don't think they want to. But
that's where you actually lose trust with that audience.
Exactly. And that's like they're walking a fine line where they want to encourage and engender that trust and that enthusiasm and that fanboyism to a certain degree. But I think they have recognized that is not a pathway to the riches that they were expecting, and that it was a distraction and
part of it because the consoles aren't doing great.
Exactly. Yes.
Maybe expect them to do better. I guess.
Right. We like the reality is we are not enough for these companies. Like for a long time we were, and we spent a lot of money on games, and that made the whole thing go around. But they have sort of tapped us out, and now they are looking at that growth and like we can't get anything more from these nerds. F them. So like, we know they're going to keep buying our games. We got to look somewhere else.
Broader audience now. Yeah.
It's I'm a little bit, scared about it, but that's just because I can't sort of change the way I like to play games. So younger people who have a different way of looking at games and different taste, they're going to be just fine because these companies are going to cater to them. I will be left with the scraps, and that's what happens to old folks. So yeah, that's just where we're at. All right. Last story here. Suicide Squad studio Rocksteady reportedly suffers more layoffs. Suicide Squad killed the Justice League developer Rocksteady has reportedly been hit with fresh layoffs. That's according to Eurogamer, which said it had heard the news from a half dozen impacted employees. The cuts reportedly took place at the end of last year, impacting some programmers, artists, and QA staff. Let's see here. Yes, the QA department being more than halved from 33 to 15 staff. The sort of fallout from Suicide Squad did feel unfinished because they have a long time before they're going to be able to put out another game, and them continuing to reduce cost while they reload for something next did feel inevitable at a certain point, and here we are. That is a company that is under Warner Brothers, a clown show if there ever was one. So this being the continuing result of that game not performing is not too surprising. It just stinks because it's like, boy, that developer had hit after hit after hit. One thing goes wrong, and here we are. And that's just what the industry is like, right?
Yeah, it's just another layer to the shitty situation we've been in for a while now. And Suicide Squad definitely did not help that at all because that game had a whole bunch of rockiness around it. So I guess it's maybe this was to be expected, but it's very unfortunate, and definitely thoughts going out to that team because y'all deserve better.
All right, let's get this show wrapped up. I'll get the poll right here. Do you like the idea of using a Switch 2 Joy-Con as a mouse? I do, and I am in the minority. 44% like that idea, 56% do not. We have a new poll question. We'll get to that here in a second. But first, Sean, where can people find you on the internet?
They can find me at TurboShawn.com, SHAWN. That is my Blue Sky handle now. And hey, I got the domain, because I had to, and it just redirects to Blue Sky. So it's nice and easy now.
Do that for mine.
I kind of like how that all works out.
Yeah, it's neat. Yeah, it's a pretty good system they got over there. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, the Blue Sky naming scheme still seems confusing. Just think of it as an email address, and everything starts to click into place a lot more.
It is almost exactly the same as the email protocol, right? That's what the whole thing is built on.
What's interesting is that every page is an individual website is how they do it internally, which is, kind of like email, but very interesting. Find me on here, giantbomb.com. We got stuff going on for the rest of the week. We got a very exciting show right after this that you're watching live. I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be a fun rest of the week, Jeff.
I could see that they're in the other room right now getting set up.
We're trying to get out here.
Have you ever played The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion? Yes or no? That's the new poll question. What's happening on Giant Bomb? Like Blight Club right now. We will have a voicemail dump truck tomorrow. I don't know if we even talked about that, but we probably are having one tomorrow.
We're doing meeting layer day, I think still.
Yeah, that sounds right. And then
probably after Blight Club.
Friday, I think we got some stuff planned. BCR, we're definitely gonna do the roundup of what happened with the Fantasy Critic last year, but we're also gonna maybe take a look at the Rolling Stones top 50 games of all time list.
Oh, yeah, we could do that too. We'll figure out what we're doing on Friday because we could also schedule an extra act. We'll see what's going on.
And then Marvel Rivals, we might play some of that. I think is what Jam wanted to do.
Fantastic
Four. Yeah. 2 of the 4 characters are launching. I guess the other 2 are launching mid-season.
Yes. Okay, interesting.
Yeah. I mean, 4 characters at once is too much, so I'm not surprised they're doing it this way.
Oh, last thing I forgot to mention, because I haven't really talked about since holiday break, go read all of our top 10s. We talked about that on the Bombcast. My top 10 list, I would appreciate if people, if they like what I had to write, I would appreciate if everyone go read that, because as always, I put way too much work into that I didn't need to. And so I'd appreciate people reading it.
Yep. Please, everyone, go check out all the guest lists for sure.
They're all very good.
Yep. Everyone did a lot of great work on there. I guess, okay, it has been confirmed. I could say it. Alex Navarro is waiting for us in Blight Club. So we should go get to that. With that in mind, Sean, thank you so much for hanging out with me today and talk about video games, man. You know I always appreciate it.
Hey, always a pleasure. Always a good time, Jeff. Get the hell out of here, Mike, and we're going to get to that next show now.
Yep, we're going to do it right now. Thank you, everybody, for watching. You're the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye. And I'm going right down. We're going to let Dan take over.